I think that the company will be quite interesting to larger players as our science develops. We keep an open mind about how to make money from it. Obviously, the first thing is develop the intellectual property, protect it with patents, and see who's interested.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Michael Jones, the CEO of Delta Gold Technologies. Michael, very good to see you in the studio.
Thanks for having me here.
So, Michael, for viewers new to Delta Gold, how would you describe the company and the problem you're trying to solve in quantum computing?
So quantum computing is very interesting because there are companies that talk about having a quantum computer, and yet the very core part of the quantum computer is a qubit. And how to make a qubit is not actually settled. The physics is still in debate. And the key thing is the qubit has to be both stable and scalable. And lots of companies are working on different science to be able to create that. So it's still very much early in quantum computing days, and we have a particular way of creating a qubit that we think is very innovative, and that's what we're working on.
In fact, your technology centers on nanoscale gold. What's uniquely promising about this material for quantum applications?
Well, unfortunately, I can't tell you. Two reasons. I'm not a quantum physicist, and quantum is quite hard to understand. And the second thing is it's actually part of our intellectual property. So it's a good thing I don't understand all of it, actually. But quantum is very interesting that in a basic computer, you can have a 0 or a 1. In a quantum computer, you can have a 0, a 1, or something in between at the same time. It's a very hard concept to get your mind around, but that ability to create multi-settings really gives the quantum computer its power and its ability to calculate a lot of iterations much faster than a regular computer. It's literally tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of times faster than a regular computer. And so creating a stable qubit, one that you can scale, is something very unique. And gold has a particular property that gives it that potential.
So what's Delta Gold's unique selling points then, Michael?
Well, I think the first thing is we have some of the best people in the world working on it. Quantum physics and quantum computing is a very exciting area. Big companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Rigetti are spending literally billions of dollars a year working in quantum computing. And we happen to have some of the brightest people in the world working on our particular solution. In fact, Professor Harry Ruda, who is our principal investigator at University of Toronto, is chairing the global conference on quantum computing in Bern in Switzerland this summer. So clearly we have a true global leader as our principal investigator.
What does your partnership with the University of Toronto give you that you couldn't build in-house, Michael?
Well, it's that expertise, I think, and being able to attract top academic people from around the world. In fact, we have top postdoctoral fellows, people who are continuing their education after their PhD, are moving with their family to Toronto because of the unique nature of our idea and their ability to study under Professor Ruda. He's a cited author of thousands of papers, and he's been cited over 2,800 times. So, he's a true global leader that people want to work with. So that's one thing. And the second thing is really the university itself. I have experience in technology companies working with universities before, and it's quite unique that if you have a technical problem, you need an element analyzed, or you need a particular tricky little thing figured out, you can walk down the hall in the university and there's other gear, electron microprobes and so on that you have access to. So I think for a small company to have the entire universe of a university studying a problem for you is quite exciting.
So, Michael, you've just listed on the Aquis Stock Exchange. At the time of listing, you had a market cap of about £5.9 million. You also completed a £2.5 million fundraise. How do you plan to deploy that capital over the next 12 months?
Well, interesting. The stock is up about 50% since the IPO. So we're over £10 million now. But the capital is really to drive research. And we have a sponsorship agreement with the University of Toronto. So we spend $1 million Canadian, about 600,000 British pounds a year on research, and that program is well set out over 3 years. That 3-year earn gets us the right to 100% of the intellectual property. So part of the expenditures will be around securing that intellectual property, filing patents, and protecting that.
You've described Delta Gold as an IP-driven business. What does commercial success look like for you? Licensing revenues, partnerships, patents, or is there something else?
All of them, I think. And I think that the company will be quite interesting to larger players as our science develops. We keep an open mind about how to make money from it. Obviously, the first thing is develop the intellectual property, protect it with patents, and see who's interested. But quantum computing is amazing in that it covers so many different spheres, from things like military applications to big data to encryption to banking to medical modeling. It goes on and on and on. The power of the quantum computer is something that can cross a whole bunch of different sectors, and that gives us a lot of opportunity to look for partners or licensees to a technology.
Give us your investment case.
Listen, we're a relatively small market cap. We have some of the best people in the world working on an incredibly active growth phase, and we're quite unique. It's quite hard to go out and get this expertise. It's a way of getting direct quantum computing exposure with a relatively modest market cap.
And quite a bit of your stock is locked up for 12 months, isn't it? So what should this tell investors about the commitment of the team and the early backers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our largest seed shareholder agreed to be locked up as part of the agreement, as well as the founders. So about 49% of our stock's actually locked up for a year, and the founders are actually locked up for over 2 years on a phased release. So, we all very much believe in what we're doing, and that the exciting part of this business really comes as we crystallize the IP and look for either licensing or partnerships. So I think, we've got a good, solid, steady state of the business and a flow of news as we move the business forward. One of the things we're talking about, and this came out of the intellectual part of it, was being a real center of excellence for quantum research. And we've already seen some of the other top people from universities, including some here in the UK, come to us and like that idea of being able to collaborate with University of Toronto and get some of the brightest minds actually working together. And this is quite a unique opportunity. Many times researchers work alone in a university. Now we can get them to globally collaborate. So that's something we're going to be working on in the months ahead.
You're early in a 3-year research project at the moment, Michael. So the sort of milestones your investors should be looking out for?
Well, the first thing is we're going to talk about our team that we've secured. As I mentioned, we've brought some of the top people from around the world. I think that's very interesting for investors. In the next week or two, we'll talk about the details of that team as they get signed and get their immigration into Canada going. So that's very interesting. And I think this collaboration aspect of global universities, I think you'll see that in the next 3 to 4 months. And then from 1 year from now, we should start to see the filing of patents and some more public details about the technology itself.
Well, I hope you'll keep us posted on your progress. Thank you very much for coming in today.
No, my pleasure.
Michael Jones is the CEO of Delta Gold Technologies.